Very cool. Oh, we had to, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you listening, we had to do this twice because my man Jeff here that I have was a little under the weather the other day. We tried starting it, but he was having a rough day. I said, you know what, man, let's just get you better and get you on the other side here. To which we've got him today. I want to tell him a quick story, Jeff, about how we met real quick. I was flying back from Fort Lauderdale to Las Vegas, had a pit stop in Dallas, and it's kind of nice when you get on the plane and I got a window seat that night by my own choice at that. And there's nobody in the middle, right? You got kind of got the extra leg room, man. You got that extra, you can move, you can extend your arms. You don't got to worry about asking anybody to kind of get up and get out of the way if you got to go to the bathroom and so forth. Up until the very last minute of the plane, I thought I was going to have me a nice open middle seat. And then this guy comes in and sits down next to me. I'm like, oh, cool. All right. Very nice. And then we start talking, just kind of chatting it up. I'm a chatty guy sometimes, depending on what kind of mood I'm in. And longer story shorter, we get to chatting, and turns out this dude is part of a bloodline that basically has defined boxing in many, 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 many ways. And I'm sure that all of you will certainly appreciate this conversation because I've got the one and only Jeff Mayweather in the building, my man. That's good to have you, man. I'm excited for it. Us to be here together, bro. This is going to be cool. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. Looking forward to this. Since we didn't get the chance to do it the last time, so
you sound much better, man. I know you're doing better. This is good. This is good. So we had a great time on the flight together. We were talking. You were showing me a lot of great video and teaching me some things, certainly through the word of wisdom of all the life you experienced, just, as a trainer, as a professional boxer yourself. And that was just very enlightening for me. And so I want people to get to know you a little bit better as we start this podcast. And I want to share your story, my man. Like, tell us your background, sort of the origin stories and where you and your brother came from and how that led to the next thing. And then everything kept evolving from there, man. The floor is yours. The mic is yours. I'm going to open up my ears, listen, and then we'll continue the conversation that way.
Okay. Well, basically, the way I got started in boxing is a little different than most people. I got started in boxing because of the relationship with me and my brother, Roger. We're very close in age, and I was pretty much like his shadow. So wherever he went, I went. And so at some point, he started boxing. Floyd Sr. started boxing first for everyone, but Roger was more geared for boxing in a sense, because when we were young, he loved to fight. He loved to do a whole lot of little mischievous things. So basically, and I mean, and of course, being that I was with him, I did some things too that I shouldn't have. But he was my brother. He was older than me, and I followed his lead. So, and so basically, I followed him so much to the point of that's how I ended up boxing. I still go to the gym with him every day. And he said, if you're going to be here every day, he said, you need to at least learn how to box, do something. Because I used to just be in the gym and just sit and then wait for him to finish. And then, and so I started boxing myself. And so I started, and of course I worked extremely, extremely hard because by this time, Floyd Sr. already was like, his name was ringing because he was very, very good in boxing. And then Roger his name is, was starting to grow as well. And so I just didn't want to embarrass no one and embarrass myself. So I worked extremely hard. And but for boxing, I didn't have the same passion for boxing as them. It was like boxing was kind of like dropped in my lap.
Hmm.
And and it's strange how it was something that I was kind of reluctant to do, but here I am 30 years later. I'm still doing the same thing. You
Hmm.
know, I'm still involved in the same thing. And the the one thing that always comes back to me is when I went to college first, and my mom, she didn't want me to box. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have been boxing. I mean, yeah, I started young. Just like just like Vargas, and like I said, I mean, so I knew what I was doing, and but I told her that I wasn't going to box because she really didn't want me to box because me going to college and everything, and she knew that how boxing can change everything, and so pretty much I told her that I would, I would stop boxing, and but I really didn't. and and she kind of found out in in a very weird way. Um, well, first I used to come home from because I mean I only lived like 45 minutes from where I went to college. So I would come home every weekend. And so when I come home, this time I came home and I forgot that I had my boxing stuff in my gym bag. And so
Oops.
yeah, so she said, "Are you back boxing again?" I said, no. I said, "I'm just working out." And so and so she said, "Okay, well that's cool." And so what ended up happening was about 2 weeks later, I was on the front page of the news
Hmm.
of the Grand Rapids Press that I was returning to boxing.
Wow.
What a snitch, right?
Busted.
So yeah, completely busted. And so what ended up happening, of course, then once it happened, she kind of like, well, she still was hoping that, that I didn't, go to the level as far as, Roger and Floyd, because I'm talking about by the time they turned pro, she didn't want me to turn pro. And so, especially like I said, when I graduated from college, what I did is I already had a job in place, and so I could have easily, went a different route. But I think what ended up happening to me was that when me and Roger were very young, we used to sit down and watch boxing and together. And when we would sit down and watch boxing together, Roger was extremely, extremely confident in his ability. And we would be watching fights and he'd be like, "I'll beat that dude."
Hmm.
And I'm thinking myself, of course, they on TV. And I'm thinking, you can't beat nobody on TV. And so, but as I got older, I got a little wiser. And then what happened was that day when Roger called me when I was graduating, I had my diploma or my degree in my hand, and I was walking across the stage, and he calls. I mean, perfect timing. He called me while I'm on the stage, you know, and so I couldn't. Of course, I couldn't answer my phone, but basically, once I got off the stage, I called him back, and he asked me, he said, "Do you wanna come to Vegas?" And I said, "Yeah, I mean, it would be great, being that I just graduated, and I can come there and have some fun." But that wasn't his plan.
Mm.
His plan was totally different. Um, when I landed, well, I mean, the one thing is this, because I didn't really get to the point where I started to get, wanted to box. This is what kind of made me want to box was like I kind of got to the point, kind of like Roger. I would sit down and I'm watching fights, and I would say then I finally started saying to myself, I said, well, maybe I could be some of these guys too.
Mm.
And, but the only way I'm gonna know
Mm.
is I got to put myself in the game.
That's right.
And so basically that's kind of what I did. And but every morning, with my mom, I would dress up, put on a suit, and go downtown like I'm looking for a job. But I wasn't.
Mm.
I went. I was just going downtown and I would eat. I would eat lunch or something, because by that time my mindset had changed that maybe I should try this, and so basically I did. And what happened was when I landed in Vegas, Roger already had me a place to live. He had me a car. This is what he was. This is yours.
Mm.
And then he took me to my manager's because I had a manager that he had jewelry stores and stuff. And so basically he took me to my manager's store. He said, "This guy right here is your manager." And I'm like, damn. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it was a blessing. It was a blessing in a sense because of the fact of a lot of times most guys have to, really prove themselves before they can get a manager. But, Roger had did that, did all that work. And so basically, it was great to be able to start your career having a manager. And not only that I had a manager, I had a manager that he also became a promoter.
Mm.
And so that made my career even easier because he was putting on fights and and I was a lot of times I became the headliner of a lot of his cards. So and that's kind of my story with boxing a little bit, but at the same time, here it is. All these years later, I'm still involved.
Mm.
And it was a choice that I made reluctantly, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I think that the one thing is that when I had my career in boxing, I I mean, of course, like I said, I always worked extremely hard and basically I wasn't going to embarrass myself or embarrass my family. And and I did well, and I did well. And but once I became a trainer, it's funny, then I absolutely fell in love with boxing.
Mm.
I fell in love with the process of being a part of someone else's journey and us coming together and seeing how far we could go.
Mm.
So that challenge alone became I guess that became I guess in a sense, my destiny of what I can accomplish. And it felt so right to me to be in that space of helping someone else,
Hmm.
to hopefully become a world champion one day. And it's funny, the very first fighter that I ever trained, it kind of proved to me that I belong in this sport, as a trainer.
Hmm.
Because my very first fighter, the very first one, I mean, because at the time I was managing Floyd Jr. So I wasn't really thinking about boxing, as a trainer or as anything. But it ended up happening because I had a very, very good friend of mine that I used to go to his fights, and I used to be the one in the audience yelling out, what he should be doing. And so he started listening to him. And so eventually one day he said, man, you should be my trainer. And I'm thinking, no, because really, in this position of trying to get Floyd career started. I got him signed with Top Rank, and so I mean, at this point, of course, after he just came from the Olympics, um, of course, that became more important than anything. But still, I still had time because
Hmm.
now by this time I've retired from boxing, and now, um, other than just you know working with Top Rank on fights and things like that, or appearances, and stuff, all the stuff that's necessary for boxing, and was on Floyd's behalf. I mean, so that's really was the only things that I was doing. So I mean, I kind of was bored also,
Hmm.
and so basically, um, I decided. I said, yeah, okay, I'll train you. And so I started training him, and like I said, he's my very first fighter. His name is David Sample, and we became extremely, extremely close. And we go back. You remember Sega Genesis?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I sure do, man. Nintendo, Sega Genesis. Oh yeah, Super
Yes.
Nintendo. Oh man, come
So
on. You now bring
yes.
up Sega Genesis, man. That's the last name, but that's funny.
no, because we would play Sega Genesis every single day for about 12 hours.
Wow.
and so basically, me and him became extremely close. And then, like I said, I became his trainer. And then after that, after I started training him, I mean, I guess other people um, started to look at me in that way as a trainer, and so of course then I started taking on more fighters, and but to me, you know, for me to take a fighter that really didn't have a huge backing, um, you know, and or a huge promoter to put him in that position, but he still got there. To me, that was a great accomplishment. And I did have to pat myself on the back for being a part of that journey. Because I know I helped him get there,
Hmm.
and basically, and like I said, and then from there, like I said, I got into training more fighters, and the more and more I trained, the better I became, and next thing I know, I started making world champions, And so once I started making world champions, of course, that was the reason, I chose to stay and continue to train fighters, and I think that the one thing that I learned a long time ago is, to be more than just a trainer. I don't want to just be a trainer, because then that, to me, it doesn't seem as important to me. I need to know you as a person. I need to know your the things that you like to do. I try to become your friend.
Right.
But the thing is also is that, I had an open door policy, with my fighters, because a lot of times, fighters, sometimes get themselves in trouble. And just like anyone, if you're in a relationship, it's not working, and you might be living with this person, you might need to get away from that, so basically I always had an extra room for my fighters, to be able to, have a place to lay their head and not worry about, what's going on, and let's get this right so you can get back to what you need to do in the gym. And so I had various fighters that, came to stay with me, and to me, that's also kind of, like I say, when I say that journey, that's also a part of that journey, because now I'm not really just being your boxing coach. I'm actually being your life coach as well.
That's powerful.
And so basically, and to the way I was able to reach everyone, it was like sometimes it's funny that I would call it, to me, Oprah sessions, because I would sit down and I would talk to everyone, about their life, what's going on, and they felt free enough to, to talk to me, about it. And it wasn't like I was, I guess I wasn't like interfering, because they didn't mind talking or sharing. And so, and basically, like I said, and then that part of boxing, I guess that's not really boxing itself, but it became a part of boxing for me because, so many people was nice enough or needed, outlet, and I was that outlet. So, and still to this day, I'm still the same way. I'm still the same with my fighters now, and it works for me, and it seems to work for them. And so, and basically now, all I'm doing is trying to maintain strong relationships, with my fighters, not just because they're fighting, but as just as friends and as human beings, and so, like I said, I guess that's why I say that my journey with someone together is more important than me winning a world title, more important than me, doing anything in boxing other than, being there for someone that's in need. And that to me that's probably what I cherish the most, and probably what I will be remembered by my fighters for the most. and it won't be because I trained them. That's just a part of it.
Right.
What I added to them as as a person, I think is way more important.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can listen to you all day, man. I can take the back seat and just hear you out because I know that's a a tiny fraction of some of the insight and wisdom, just storytelling that you have. You listen to a good story and you're just into it and you feel a chemical release, your brain releases dopamine, you get these like tingly feelings. No, I'm serious. I enjoy that part of participating in a conversation where I'm listening, and that's how I'm feeling. It's what was just happening when I was listening to you, just a tingling in the head because it just was awesome to see you in this element doing that. Okay, I could ask quite a bit of questions on what it is you just said, but I think the thing that sticks out to me the most that I sort of want to get your feedback on was making world champions in boxing, and you sort of talked about the approach that you had with them, sort of becoming their friend, knowing that you were there for them, not just training them, but being a brotherly figure, being a fatherly figure, giving them a safe place. What are some of the things that you all did together to make them better? Not only in boxing, but in life, because I think people on here might be asking themselves, okay, I understand boxing, love the story, but they want to get better in life, Jeff, right? They want to improve their business. They want to improve their relationships. They want to improve their career. And so how can some of the things you guys say and it could come from anywhere, you and your relationship with your brothers, you training fighters, you moving from being a boxer to the trainer, to the life coach, the lessons can come from any place. But
Right.
how does somebody take the boxing lessons of life that you've used so well to build world champions and to make themselves their own world champions in their own life, right? Um,
Right.
yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, the one thing is this: is that, of course, in boxing, not everyone's going to become a world champion.
Mm,
Um, I've been training fighters now for almost 30 years. I've only I've made from scratch probably three, no, maybe four world champions, but I've trained multiple world champions. I've trained probably about 9 or 10 world champions. So um, so that part is not a guarantee for anyone.
mm,
But the relationship that that you build, becomes more important than anything. And the support of you know helping someone. And I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, of course, I don't know everything, but the one thing I know is that if you're a person that I care for, I'm going to have your back.
mm,
And sometimes that could be the most important thing that somebody can do for you in your life, is having someone to depend on, even if it's
mm.
talk or just you know, to be there for them. Because, I have a lot of people that even to this day, when they're going through something, they'll call me and we'll sit here and talk for hours, and I mean, and I might have the answers and sometimes I don't, but, I, I have I think I have a keen sense of, especially when it's something, sometimes things are simple. They're very simple. And because that person is so caught up in it, they don't know how to get out of it, or they don't know how to deal with it because it's them. It's almost like you're stuck in a tornado.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed and that tornado hasn't released you yet. You know, and sometimes all you need is, you know, a word of encouragement from somebody else that's not in that situation, that can see what you're going through, you know, from a distance, you know, and basically then, you know, I mean, you can give them, you know, some kind of I mean, assistance. You, like I said, even if it's just words, you know, words of wisdom can, you know, can change a person's life. You know, and and a lot of times, I mean, like I said, I mean, I have like one of my young fighters that I train right now. I mean, me and him is very close. We're very close because to me, he seems like he's a lot like me. You know, he's just not as old as me, but he seems like, you know, he has a very, very old spirit. And so we sit around and we talk. We talk about life way more than we ever talk about boxing.
I love
And
that. So good.
you know, yeah, and I was the same way with the kid that I had, Vidal Riley. Our relationship was exact the same way, and I'm like that with, you know, I don't force that on no one, you know, but sometimes, you know, I just, you know, we end up in that space. I don't know why, but you know, we do, because just we talk. I guess it's just because you're talking about life. When you talk about life, life is different. It's totally different than just talking about what you're doing. You know, I mean, so and basically, a lot of times I can come up with some answers, or I can come up with, you know, some suggestions, because maybe just because I've been here longer than they have, you know, and maybe I've been through it in my own life, you know, and so, you know, and that's, you know, I mean, see, we're going back to, like I said, you know, that's what's important to me, you know, and but like I said, it's important to me, but it's only important to me if you need me. It's not important to me for us to just be, you know, I mean, talking about something that happened maybe to someone else, because that's not me, or, you know, or just talking about somebody else. No, I want to talk about your problems, you know, not somebody else's problem, because I don't know them, or, you know, or that's not my business, you know. So I mean, if I can help you, let's sit down and talk. But if I, you know, if you want to talk to me and then you bring up somebody else's name about somebody else and what they're doing, don't talk to me. You know, if they need me, and if they need me, you know, or if they my fighter, and even if they ain't my fighter, I still, you know, I still talk to them, you know, but I mean, you know, but I don't like to just get in nobody's business.
Yeah, I heard you say something right there that was pretty powerful. Talking about life is different than what we're doing. That was that one hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, wow, that's a heck of a one-liner. Talk about a punchline, pun intended, right? Come on, let's throw the punchline right there for those of you that are listening in right now. And I can't help but think that, you know, as you continue to share your thoughts, it's just the word that keeps popping up in my mind is wisdom. It's wisdom, and it's not wisdom in terms of, you know, the fact that you've lived more life, because I always look at that too. It's like, regardless of somebody's, you know, more accomplished, less accomplished, if they have more life experience, there's usually more wisdom because they've had time, you know, over a long enough horizon. You know, usually draws up wisdom. For you, Jeff, you have not only, you know, been in the ring of life, been in the actual boxing ring, you know, the bloodline is it bleeds boxing. You had the opportunity to come to Vegas and change your life and start professionally fighting. I mean, you were sharing with me back on the plane, you were in the ring with Oscar De La Hoya, I think back in the 90s, right? Was it the 90s or the 80s?
90s.
90s. In the
Yeah.
90s, which that's just not something to just say, you know, oh hey, you know, that's incredible. You've gone on to train world champions, you've trained Floyd to some extent, and now you're up here continuing to want to help people in life and in boxing. If you could go back, like you're here today, we're here right there in this moment. If you could go back to when you were younger, or if you're talking to somebody younger, how would you tell them to live life based on what you now know? Would it be different? Would you change what you did? Um, would you handle relationships differently? Would you give it more effort? Because time, you can't get that time back, right? Like, you know,
Right. Can't get back time.
no,
But
no.
I think with me, I'm one of those people that I never live with regret.
Mm,
I don't live with regret because once I make a choice, either I'm going to follow that choice or I'm not. And sometimes we don't know where that choice is going to lead us. But as long as it's not leading us to a path of, you know, where we're going to fail or we're going to, you know, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but you know, I mean, it's just a path.
self-destruct.
Yeah, self-destruction. Right. No,
Self-destruct.
that's perfect. Yeah. So I mean, because in life, I mean, if it's just something that's minimal, we can overcome that.
Mm,
You know. So I mean, when I make choices, just like I said, I mean, I don't regret the fact that I'm here. I'm still doing boxing. I mean, I could. Who knows? I mean, I could have, you know, pursued, you know, my career after college, and I might be doing great,
mm.
or I might be doing horrible.
Who knows?
But right, no one knows. I mean, but chances are I probably would have been doing well because I mean, I'm driven, I'm a hard worker, and I pay attention to details. You know, and I think that's most important is that when you pay attention to details, you have answers. You can get answers because you know there's someone there that's been there before you that you can ask. It's just like when people ask me, you know, if I've been in something and it's something that you're trying to experience, talk to me
Mm.
or talk to someone that's in that field or whatever because you know you're going to get some answers and there may be some answers that you don't want. It might be some answers that's gonna, you know, that's gonna stick with you, you know, forever. You know, because sometimes words are more powerful than anything, you know. And I mean, and sometimes those words resonate with you whenever you're down, whenever you're up, you're doing well. I mean, those words of wisdom that stick with you and you realize that wow, I I'm here because really because of these words
Mm.
that I trust, these words that I trust that somebody told me that you know maybe I could be something, I could be someone, I could be somewhere, you know. And that's just That's how life is. I mean, we got to pick, our own journeys, even like myself. I mean, it's kind of funny for me to say that, being that, I didn't, but realistically I did,
Yeah.
Because if I chose boxing because of my brother Roger, and boxing really wasn't for me, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
We wouldn't be even talking about boxing today, because still, even though when I landed in Vegas, he had me prepared. If I didn't have the mindset to work hard enough, to have the desire to want to become a champion, I wouldn't have. So I mean, it may have started with him opening the door for me, but kind of like James Brown saying, "Open up the door, I'll get it myself."
That's right.
So, and so basically, and that's kind of like what happened with me. He opened the door for me, and I kicked the door in. And I'm still here.
Well, you just reminded me of something that you brought up earlier about having the mindset shift when you were watching other fighters on TV. Your brother was there, and he was saying, I'm better than them. I can beat them." And you're like, "Hey, they're on TV." You had to shift your mindset.
Yes,
What
definitely.
what was the shift, or how did the shift come to be, in the sense, like, eventually, because at first you're like, I can't do that, and then it was like, I can do that. So how did you get over to the other side there, where you were able to say, no, I'm going to do this? I think a lot of people struggle with this, and even myself sometimes, more in some of the areas of business. It's like, I can't do that. I'm not there yet. And it's like, whoa, like it holds you back, versus, no, I can do this. So I'm trying to find out how you did that, to have that mindset shift.
I think that I had the mindset shift for more than one reason. One was because I got a little older and I was able to understand what he was saying, because I was just thinking that these guys are on TV, meaning that they're good. That don't mean shit. because realistically, in boxing, there's an A side and there's a B side. The B side is supposed to lose.
Yep.
So that guy on TV, he did exactly what he's supposed to do. Got in there and got beat up. So, and then, understanding that was part of it. And then also part of it was just me, myself, didn't want to lie to myself, saying that if those words come out of my mouth, no, I'm going to be able to say it because I lived it, not because I think it. Because we can sit around and think about something for a lifetime. There's a lot of people that that I talk to even today, and of course, like I said, me, I don't live with regrets. I turn my regrets into something else, but a lot of people actually do live with regret. And that's something that, me, no, I wasn't going to, like I said, I wasn't going to say, oh, I could do this, I can do that. And I tell everybody how great I think I was. I'm lying. I'm lying because I didn't do it. It's easy to tell stories. I mean, we all can think what we could have accomplished and things like that, but the only way we're going to know is put ourselves in the game. Put ourselves in that game, and then let's find out let's find out the reality of the words that came out of my mouth. So, and that's basically what I did. You know, that's what transformed me more than anything was I don't want to be 40, 50, 60, 70 years old later saying something about, oh, I could have beat that dude a long time ago. No. I mean, the time is now. I'm still young enough to put myself in that position to challenge that person. If, if that's the person that I'm going to challenge, or me just even talking about it, I mean, I'm talking, but talk don't mean nothing. Action speaks. And that's what I did. I put myself into action, and, and I mean, I did okay. Maybe I could beat those guys, maybe I can, but yeah. I put myself in action.
I sure hope that anybody listening right now does not underestimate the value of what he just said. I mean, when you said the words, I'm not going to talk myself through the thinking about it. I'm going to talk about it because I lived it.
Right.
You said you're not going to talk about the idea of not being able to beat him when you were looking at the TV, is how I translated it. You're going to get in the ring, and if you get your quote unquote ass whooped, you're going to still be able to say, at least I got in the ring, and I know I got my rear end whooped because I got in the ring, because you lived it. Dude, right. that is so freaking incredibly powerful. People. I just hope that you catch that, that you understand what he just said. You hear it all the time in the sense it's like, got to get started. But the way you frame that, Jeff, was spectacular, because it was like everybody's talking about how they're going to do something, what they're going to do, but they never actually jump in to do it and then live with the consequences and the moment of being proud because you did it. At least you did it. You might not make it. You might not win, right? Your business might not actually go up and be multiple millions of dollars. Who knows? But you just won't know, right? Man, right. That was so good. I'm gonna chop that one up and pull it out and make it its own little YouTube video. I'm gonna specialize that one. Wow, that's awesome. So, talking about some of going back to more of like the characteristics and sort of the character traits maybe of being in the boxing ring, the ring of life, learning these lessons. What do you see sort of the commonalities in some of the fighters or even people that had become successful in your life that they had, whether that was like, you said some of the things, hard work, like what are some of the real elements that make people winners? Because you've not only seen the trainers that you follow, you've seen people around you. Your nephew is probably, God, I mean, he has become one of the most premier names ever in the sport. Do these guys have different attitudes? Do they only care about making it at the high level? What do you see? Like, how do you define it? Because you have such a worldly observation.
I mean, I'll use my nephew as, as an example, because that's something that I was able to watch from day one to where he is now. And so I can actually speak about it and speak facts about it, because by the time Floyd was probably 7 or 8 years old, we already said that he was going to be one of the greatest fighters ever. Wow. If not the best. And that was when he's 7 or 8 years old.
Can I jump in real quick? Mm-hmm. How did you know that? Or was that just like a decision uncle and dad made, that they're like, regardless of how he is, we're going to make him this way? Or he just was showing signs of that?
No. I mean, well, don't get me wrong. I mean, he had no choice in the matter. His dad, the day he was born, his dad already had that seed planted in his mind that my son is going to be the best fighter ever. And what he did is he instilled hard work, and he all of the things that he fell in love with in boxing, he gave him to his son. He gave him to his son, and the way he gave him to his son was kind of like, it's one of those things that people always have a tendency to look at a person's journey and say, wow, that person made it. And then sometimes they look at that journey and they say, wow, damn, he had to go through all that. But that's part of it. That's part of it. The one thing is this. At some point, okay, little Floyd, just like I said, I was reluctant about boxing. Little Floyd had no choice. When he was born, that's what his dad said he was going to be. And what ended up happening for him, his dad created something for him that he could always fall back on. And as long as he did it while he was young enough, because the one thing is this, in life, I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is you do. You could be a garbage man. You could be anything you want to be. But the one thing that you got to have to be successful is passion. You got to find the passion in what you're doing. And with little Floyd, it took time for him to find the passion in what he was doing, because at some point he got burnt out. He got burnt out on boxing, because his dad was one of those that was trying to like create a machine, and basically it's almost like the same thing. I always compare this to the situation with Joe Jackson and Michael Jackson and the whole entire family. Everybody talks about how bad Joe and how mean he was. How mean was he? He made him the greatest fucking band in the history of the world.
That's right.
So how bad was it? Because he changed their lives, where every single one of his children became successful at the highest level. And that's the exact same thing that Floyd Sr. did for his son. He gave his son something that he started young enough, and that's the key. He started young enough to have those things to always fall back on, no matter what goes on in his life. The one thing that still is going to be there is that knowledge that he was taught. That knowledge is not going to go nowhere. And that's the exact same thing with the Jacksons. You learn this stuff so young. It becomes a part of you.
Yeah, man, that's so true. God,
and when it becomes, and that's the thing. And when it becomes a part of you, it's not going nowhere. It's not going nowhere. The only thing, and it becomes the one thing that there might be a whole lot of shit out here, but one thing I know I can do, and one thing I know I'm one of the best to ever do this, is whatever my dad taught me. And basically that's what happened. Floyd Jr. him and his dad, they had their differences, they had fights, but that's part of the journey. And at some point, when that journey or before that journey ends, Joe Jackson has to get some credit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Floyd Mayweather Sr. has to get some credit. And that's basically, we watched Floyd growing up, and we would see there he's a kid. He's 8 years old, and he's in the city running 5 miles a day. Nobody, and people don't know it, that his dad is with him. His dad is driving his car. They just think it's a little crazy kid running around the neighborhood, not realizing that he's running to greatness.
Mm-hmm.
No one expected that same kid that's been running around this neighborhood all this time is now one of the greatest fighters to ever put on a pair of gloves. And that was because his dad started him off on something that he knew better than anything else he ever did, because it was the first thing that he learned. And because it was the first thing that he learned, he always will return to it. Mm. But the most important thing, like I said, is the passion. Mm. Once he realized that, damn, I'm great at this shit.
Lights out at that point, game over.
Maybe I don't want to play basketball. Maybe I don't want to play no other sport. I don't want to do nothing but this, because this is something that I know I'm the best at. And the one thing is this: not only did he think he was the best, we all thought he was the best. Mm. My entire family thought that he was going to be the greatest fighter to ever put on a pair of gloves. And to be honest, he is one. Mm. He became exactly what his father planned for him to become. And the thing is this, is that the one thing with Floyd Jr. was this is his journey. When he first, in the beginning, it was never about money. Mm. It was about being the best at what he did. And that being the best at what he did was being better than everyone else that came before him. Mm-hmm. That was the most important thing for him. And that pushed him when he had already made $100 million. That pushed him when he made $300 million. That still continued to push him to work the same way he did when he was 8 years old. That mindset never changed. The mindset of wanting to be great never changed. Wanting to be the best never changed. So, and that's, and that's why, that's how things happen. I mean, find a passion. Once you find that passion, and the younger you start, and that, don't get me wrong, that's why you have a lot of people now having their kids start at 6 and 7 years old, and they're trying to reduplicate, Floyd Jr. But, I mean, it can happen. I mean, that's just like anything else. Anything else in life, the younger you start, the better your chances are of being successful. But you gotta find the passion in it. If you don't find the passion in it, I don't care how great, you were coming up, because if you don't find the passion, that means you don't love it. And if you don't love it, there's no way. There's no way you're going to get to the pinnacle where you should be. if you don't have love for what you're doing. And so, you know, and that's the story of Floyd Jr. I mean, and like I said, I mean, he and you'll hear from other fighters as well, that fighters that he was a guy that never ever focused on the money. But he was clever enough to do this. He was clever enough to go from Pretty Boy Floyd to Money Mayweather. That became his brand.
Mm.
And that brand is kind of like this. Muhammad Ali, right? He's the greatest of all time, right? You know why?
Because he said it.
Exactly. Now, you know where I'm getting to.
I'm following you, man.
Money Mayweather. All of a sudden,
Money starts coming in.
exactly. You have a kid that manifested something purely through words. And that's the same thing with Muhammad Ali. Everybody can say they're the greatest, but until you prove, you know, or you do something so spectacular that now everybody accepts it, you know. And basically with Floyd, I mean, he put that out there, Money Mayweather, and then it became a part of him. It became a part of his success, became a part of his brand. I mean, when you have a guy that makes over 300 million in one fight, I mean, you have people, you know, you're talking about generation of wealth in one night, as opposed to, you know, you have people that gonna fight, that's gonna fight in boxing and never achieve anything, you know. But because what was instilled in him is the reason why he was so successful, because he never, ever thought about the money. He thought about the money later, and basically, that was basically just a brand. He put it out there, and just like Muhammad Ali said, "I'm the greatest," everybody said, "Oh, that's Money Mayweather." So all of a sudden, those paydays became huge, you know. And I mean, and basically, it's one of those things where when you say something, sometime it's gonna happen, and that's exactly what happened. You know, that's what happened. And like I said, I mean, he trained like a guy who never made $1.
Wow.
His whole entire career. And that's the reason why he is, well, at least now he gave himself, what's the TBE, the best ever, since the greatest is gone, that name. So he had to come up with his own acronym. So basically, you know, but I saw it from day one all the way until now. And basically, you know, of course, I take my hat off to my nephew for being as great as he is, and for him becoming I guess to me, he's kind of the role model of being a athlete that not focusing on what's happening now, but where my legacy gonna be in the end.
Hmm.
Not basically how much money I'm gonna make. No, I want to be better than anyone that has ever done this. My name at the end of the day is gonna be up there with everyone else. If not, it's gonna be up there by itself. And that's basically that's him. You know, I mean, it was instilled in him. He found a passion, and and now the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah, literally, literally. I just so appreciate you opening up and sharing that, that story to give people more context. Because again, people hear what they hear in the news, or they read this over there, and it's like, I can't believe the news for anything anymore.
Right.
So it just paints a really awesome picture of the truth about the fact that it was about being good, and sorry, not even good, the best, right? And it was only about working and creating a discipline to get into position to have the right to earn more money, and like learning that the journey from childhood to getting in position to start being in the best fights because you've become the best fighter, and then knowing you've made it, you are now receiving it because you're proving it, then you
Right.
adjust your brand, and then the real money, like the segmentation of the process is phenomenal in how you described it, to show like he went and earned it early, and from early got the proof, and then was like, okay, now let's build Money Mayweather. And that's incredible, absolutely incredible. I think about what you're talking about with the passion quite a bit. I personally do. And I think you said in there, like, he didn't have it at first. He learned to have it, over time of doing it enough. Some of us, like, my childhood was just traumatic and got beat up and all that. So I've ridded a lot of that, right? So that's like my 6, 7, 8 year old, seeds that got planted are not favorable. It's like, they're not sexy, man. I mean, I'm not, so what I find is, you know, later in age now, I'm rewiring myself as an adult, right? Which is a
Right.
whole different process than what you're sharing with, where dad already had a plan for this kid to be the best ever. And sure enough, great. By the way, one quick thing on that note, you reminded me of, I just saw the movie like 2 months ago, King Richard. It's like the same story with Venus and Serena Williams with their dad, right?
Yes.
Same.
He saw he saw what the talent that they had long before they could ever even imagine being
That's
in
it,
that
man.
space.
Same,
Yeah.
same thing. It's same
Exactly.
exact
Exactly.
storyline. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So that's incredible, and I'm glad that you're sharing this, like, in today's, because like now there's a reference point because of mainstream culture with movies, that they, oh wow, I just saw that in King Richard. So anyway, we're talking about this passion thing. Do you think that, like, passion can come from a rigid practicing of something, and then you can become passionate about it, or do you think it's like it would have to be, from back in the day? Because I'm curious about just your take. It's not a right or a wrong answer. It's just like, I think
Well,
this passion.
I think when you're talking about the level of success of being one of the absolute best, I think that um I don't think I think it's like I said, I think it's something that has to be instilled in you. And it has to be instilled in you when you have nothing, when you when even before your thought process of what am I gonna do
Hmm.
needs to be implanted in you already. Just like with King Richard. He taught his daughters tennis. He didn't know shit about tennis. But he taught them that. And basically, that was the only thing they knew. At that age, they were the first, of their neighborhood and, and even of their heritage and basically he spoke those words into existence, and that's the exact same thing that Floyd Sr. did, and basically, so I think that, sometimes I think I ain't gonna say that it can't happen at a later age, but it's better to let it be the first seed that's planted in their head. That seed has to be planted to the point where that seed's going to always be there, because that seed is going to be that one seed that you can always revert back to know and be. And that's that one seed that your confidence is always going to be attached to that seed, because that's a space where, if you don't know nothing else, you know that you can do that. And you know that you can do it probably better than most people, if not all. And so that's why I'm saying the younger, the better, because it's instilled before anything else is in there, because once you get a taste of, okay, well, somebody teaching you basketball, then somebody teaching you football, somebody teaching you all these different things. If you start doing too many things, you're not going to focus on one. And basically, the one thing is this, is that I think that the passion for the one that you find and the timing is important too, because the younger you are, the better you're going to be. It's just like this. If I go to school at 1 year old, you go to school at 5 or maybe 6 years old. When you sit next to me in class, you're going to be a dummy. Right? I mean, you're going to be a dummy in terms of, not saying that you can't catch up.
Right.
But right now, I'm 4 years ahead of you or 5 years ahead of you in knowledge. I'm working on computers. You're working on ABC. So that's what, and that's what manifests itself when someone starts so young, and the first thing you put in them is the one thing that they're going to hold on to, and that one thing that they hold on to is going to be the one thing that's probably going to make them, a part of history. I don't care if it's, like I said, I don't care in what line of life. It don't have to be sports. It could be anything. If it's instilled in you young enough and you find the passion in it, it's going to work for you. And one day, your name is going to be out there on the highest level. And that's what I believe.
You're providing me real time. I can't emphasize this enough. Breakthrough in terms of like you touched on it just a second ago. I have just had like the biggest internal, even though you might not see it here in my mind, like breakthrough that I may have had in a long time. And here's why. You talked about, you just said it, doing too many things, but football, basketball, sports, at this point, I was just thinking to myself while you were talking, I was like, I know too much. I have too many damn things going on, too much experience, right? I've lived too much. And so now it's like, a bunch of different things over 36 years that just like keep funneling in, just like blah, 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 blah. It just keeps growing and growing. And so I thought to myself, Jeff, when you were talking about this, like, God, I gotta just get rid of it all. And I have to, at this point in my life, even in all the work we do every day and progress we make, personal development, self-growth, self-improvement, all that stuff, get back to this one thing. So it's almost like I have to strip myself back down and make myself implantable again, right? Like implant
Right.
it in a way where it's like it goes, because everything else is just noise. It's clouding everything up. It's making it foggy, to which I wholly agree with, because that's been one of, my things is like knowing I could do too many things, but it's like, dude, stop, like relax. And what that's giving me is a reminder that you said the fallback. You could go back and have confidence in that thing when you're younger. Man, I couldn't help but think about how like I just shared with you, I have a confidence, had a confidence, and I'm working to beat it in the trauma and the near-death experiences, the things that I had when I was 5, 6, and 7, all the bad things that were going on. So you can fall back and have confidence in the thing that doesn't serve you, right? You can have confidence in something that is devastating and, in quote unquote, like we said earlier, self-destructing, and not even know it. Like, dude, I'm
True.
having like these breakthroughs I'm having right now are just like knocking my socks off. Like they just flew off my feet, unless you could see it. But like the way that you framed it and positioned it for me was like, oh my God, so true. And I'm so thankful for that, man. It's hitting me like a ton of bricks, man. So this is fantastic. I hope that you all that are listening are understanding what I'm saying, um, and catching wind with that. So look, man, any final thoughts, brother? I know we've been here for going on an hour and a half here in a minute, man. I don't want to keep you all day, because I would keep you all day. Um, but I'm sure you got some final parting words of wisdom, or just an open floor. And then I'm going to ask you a question about what's behind me, because that's important too, man. And then also, if you want to share anything that you're working on, with where people can find you, social channels, websites, that's all great too, my man.
Well, I mean, basically, I can be found on Instagram under the real Jeff Mayweather. I had to change because I got hacked,
Mm.
and it's funny because I got hacked and I was verified, and
That's funny.
and so and of course and Facebook, Jeff Mayweather. What else? Do I have any other Instagram? I mean, that's basically it as far as social media. I mean, I have like my own brand of like t-shirts and things like that. Um, called Doom Session,
Hmm.
and Doom Session is something that I came up with myself a long time ago, because when I was to train fighters, when I teach them defense, I hit them upside the head. and when I would do it, I would say doom. And so that became my brand.
I like it.
And
That's awesome.
it's kind of funny because, and I mean, I do it with soft mitts. I don't really try to hurt anyone. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But and so and I guess that's really about it. I mean, ain't too much. I mean, I'm staying busy. I'm staying busy with my fighters, and like I said, a lot of times, if I'm not working with them, sometimes I'm on the phone with them, just talking about life, because that's how I am. I think that relationships that are not just always business, because you have a lot of trainers that are just training fighters solely because they get a percentage,
Right.
and that's not me. And basically, I'm staying busy, trying to help my fighters become better, better human beings.
Mm.
And that's about it.
I'm so thankful that we met on that plane, my man. I know we've text back and forth. The goal was to do this. I remember when we met, I gave you a book, and then I said, "Hey, man, you like the podcast?" He said, "Yeah, let's do it." So I was like, that's gonna be a fun one, man. Hopefully you've enjoyed this because I have.
No,
This
it was nice.
Yeah, this is fantastic, man. I mean, like really one of the most revealing for myself and just I think for the audience in general that I've done. Just fun listening to the story, the background, the journey, man. That's just fantastic. So let me ask you a question, man. What does always on the grow mean to you? What does that mean to you?
That means that you should always be challenging yourself to be better. I would think.
I love it, man. That's right. Ain't no right or wrong answer here, man.
I'm gonna ask you, what's your answer?
Yeah, I think it's it's a combination of things, right? I mean, when I created it was really a play on words to start. Then I came up with sort of the purpose behind it. It was really about helping people grow further, faster.
Mm-hmm.
Then I pointed the mirror back to myself, and it was really about helping myself grow further, faster on an individual level so that I could help other people grow further, faster. And why it's further, faster is because it's about how can I get an outcome of my life done in 3 years that would somewhat take other people 20 to 30 years and compress time frames. Everybody's always on the go, right? That was the whole fun part of like, oh, I'm always on the go. I gotta go. Well, yeah, and your speed's there, but your growth isn't necessarily there, right? So I wanted to have some fun with it and create something that emulated essentially how I live my life. And I really do. This whole thing right here is who I am in every dimension, whether it's relationships, business, professionally, spiritually, emotionally. I acknowledge the fact that I'm imperfect, but I'm always looking to grow myself in those departments to make myself more complete while I'm here on this earth, my man. So that's essentially my rhetoric around the answer.
Well, sounds good.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean,
So
and that's something that we all should be doing.
that's right. That's right, man. Yep. And that's part of it, right? Can we get the rest of the world to get on board and buy into it? Because we know the value of it. So, but listen, man, you've been an unbelievable charm for us here today. I've valued this so much, man, from the heart, my heart to yours, brother. Just want to say thank you again, and we'll have to load this thing back up in the future and bring you back for version 2, round 2, baby. Yeah, you got a boxing round, man. You got a boxing ring. You got 12 rounds, man. We might have to go 12 on this guy, right? You got 12 in you.
Always.
Oh, that's right. I knew you did, man. Well, this is 1, man. Make sure you drink lots of water. Stay healthy because 12 can go long, man. You get a little exhausted in that 12th round, man. We're going to have to go podcast training for 12. So, all right, brother. It's been a great time, man. I appreciate you.
All right.